All right, let's talk about Azure. When you're in the cloud, who's really on the hook for your security? Is it you or is it Microsoft? Well, the answer is it's complicated, and getting it wrong can be, well, a disaster. Today, we're going to break down exactly who does what in the cloud. Let's jump in. You've probably heard this a million times, right? Folks move to the cloud and think, awesome, I can just kick back and relax. Azure's got the whole thing covered. I mean, it's the dream, isn't it? The ultimate set it and forget it for all your IT stuff.
But is that really how it works? Come on. The short answer is a big fat no. And honestly, believing that little myth is one of the quickest ways to find yourself in a world of hurt.
Yeah, this is what we call the Great Cloud Misconception. It's a myth that's not just super common, it's incredibly costly. We're talking data breaches, downtime, the works. So today, we are going to bust this myth once and for all.
See, the reality of the cloud runs on something called the shared responsibility model. The key word there is shared. This isn't just a service you buy, it's a partnership. Azure handles certain jobs, and you handle the others. And the most important thing you can possibly do is know exactly where that line is drawn.
Now, to make this whole partnership thing crystal clear, we're going to use a really simple analogy. I promise, this is going to make this whole complex idea just click. So, for the next few minutes, I want you to think like a tenant.
That's right. Imagine you're renting an apartment. It's actually the perfect way to think about the cloud, because there's a super clear division of labor between the landlord and you, the person living there.
So check this out. The owner, the landlord, they handle the building itself, right? The foundation, the plumbing in the walls, maybe the security guard at the front door. But you, the tenant, you're responsible for everything inside your apartment. Your furniture, your stuff, and this is the big one, locking your own front door. In this story, Azure is the landlord, and you're the tenant.
Okay, so if you're the tenant, what kind of apartment are you renting? Because in the cloud, you've got options. It can be anything from a totally empty house that you have to furnish yourself, all the way to a full-service hotel room where everything is done for you. Let's see how this plays out.
First up, we've got Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. Think of this as the empty house option. You get the land, the four walls, and a roof, but everything, and I mean everything, you put inside is up to you. This gives you the most control for sure, but it also gives you the most responsibility.
And here's exactly what that looks like in practice. Azure, your landlord, manages the heavy-duty physical stuff, the data centers, the actual servers, the networking cables. But you, the tenant, you've got a long to-do list inside that house. The operating system, all the security patches, your apps, your data, your firewall rules. You're basically building out the entire home yourself.
Okay, next up is Platform as a Service, or PaaS. Now this is more like renting a furnished house. The landlord has already put in the basic furniture and appliances for you, so you don't have to worry about all that heavy lifting.
And the key thing to see here is how the responsibility shifts. With PaaS, Azure starts managing more of the underlying stuff, like the operating system and the security patches for it. That leaves you with a much simpler job. You just have to worry about your own application code and your data. It's like the landlord took care of the beds and the sofa, you just got to move your clothes and books in.
And finally, we get to Software as a Service, or SaaS. This is the hotel room experience. It's the all-inclusive kick-your-feet-up option, where pretty much everything is handled for you, from top to bottom.
I mean, just look at this breakdown. In a SaaS model, the provider manages just about everything. The hardware, the OS, the app itself, all the updates, the whole shebang. Your responsibility shrinks way, way down. You're basically just in charge of managing your own data inside the app and deciding who gets to use it. You're a guest in the hotel, just using the room and enjoying the service.
Okay, so we've got our three housing options. But why is it so absolutely critical to understand this division of labor? Well, it all boils down to one word: security. Because no matter which model you choose, securing your slice of the cloud is, ultimately, your job.
So let me ask you a question. What happens if you forget you're part of the deal? What happens if you, the tenant, forget to lock the door to your own apartment?
Well, this is what happens. Your virtual machine, your IaaS, empty house, gets hacked. And it's not because Azure's physical security failed. Nope. It's because you left a digital door wide open. Maybe you used a weak password, you messed up a firewall rule, or you just forgot to install a critical security patch. That, my friend, is on you. And let me be perfectly clear about this. When that happens, it is your responsibility, not Azure's.
If a burglar breaks into your apartment because you left the door unlocked, you can't go blaming the landlord, right? The exact same principle applies here.
Let's really drive this home with one final, powerful analogy that I think cements this whole security idea perfectly: the bank locker.
Think about it. The bank provides incredible security for the building itself, right? The giant vault, the CCTV cameras, the security guards, that's their job. That's Azure securing the cloud infrastructure. But you are responsible for actually putting your valuables in the locker, locking it up tight, and keeping your keys safe. If you leave the locker open or lose your key, all those guards and cameras can't help you.
Okay, let's put it all together in one simple cheat sheet. This table breaks down who's responsible for what, layer by technical layer. Notice how, at the bottom, Azure handles the physical foundation, the data center, the servers, but as you move up the stack toward the operating system, your applications, and especially your data and who can access it, that responsibility shifts firmly and squarely onto your shoulders.
So after all that, what are the 3 key things to walk away with? First, Azure is responsible for the security of the cloud. Second, you are responsible for security in the cloud. That's your data, your users, your configurations. And third, your piece of that responsibility gets bigger or smaller, depending on if you're in an empty house, a furnished one, or a hotel room.
And that really leaves us with one final critical question you need to ask yourself. We've talked about apartments and bank lockers, but it all comes down to this. In your own corner of the cloud, are you remembering to lock your digital doors?